Yeah.
Supplements. I mean, for one thing, supplement industry is a multi-million-dollar industry in America, and there are certain regulations. For the most part, they aren't regulated by, like, for example, the FDA. And because of that, you can just go to Whole Foods, you can go to Rite Aid, and just pick up whatever you want. But keep in mind that, herbs, a lot of these high-potency vitamins, they are medicine, and you should treat it as such. Just to go in without, just reading a book, or you read in the newspaper that such and such is good for whatever, is really not a safe way to approach these things. There's a reason why people spend years studying herbs, vitamins. That's why we have herbalists, that's why we have homeopaths, that's why we have naturopaths who study this, and they are doctors and they're trained in how to dispense them. So if that is something that you are interested in doing, then you should study it. But I really caution you to be careful when you just want to treat something naturally by just going and buying something over the counter like that, because you could do some harm without realizing it. And a lot of, because they're also not regulated, you don't know if there's any contamination in some of the herbs. Sometimes they're not processed properly, especially when it comes to children too, because you want to be careful of that. But that's just my
yeah. And identifying, like one of your questions, identifying a good source for the herbal product is pretty important too. I mean, I know we used to make, when I had the clinic in Santa Barbara, we used to make a lot of our own medicines. So we could, we knew what we were using. Like Passiflora is one of my favorite things to use in material form, herbally, you could say, Passiflora flowers, but we always used the flowers. And nowadays you go into an herb store if you want it, and Passiflora works wonderfully if it's made properly from the flowers. But you go to nowadays the standards means if it's a Passiflora extract or tincture, or it can be dried Passiflora in capsules in which the drying you've lost all the real benefit in the life of it. Or it's mostly from the leaf. The leaf has a different effect than the flower. And so the standards are very weak and very poor. And like you say, there is not a standard. So you really have to depend on the ethics and the kind of insight of the people who are doing the medicines and the remedies. And what I want to bring back, I don't know if I've told you this already, I lament the loss of the art of pharmacy. The art of pharmacy is lost. You find some of it in Pakistan, India, Iran, Afghanistan, Kashmir, some of these places still alive. But the modern art of pharmacy in this part of the world is gone. And it used to be, and now a lot of people are taking on the, learning herbs and plants, but even that's limited in terms of what they've learned how to do. It used to be there were all these kinds of preparations and all of these ways and understandings of how percolation works and how you extract the most volatile, the most useful parts of the plants, what it means to dry something, what it means to use something that's, whether you make something into a vinegar, whether you take the water of something by distillation, whether you take the attar from it and use that, and all sorts of other preparations. There are hundreds of preparations were used in books on herbal medicine that you would get 100 years ago. The details of the standards and the recognition of the standards to identify the quality were very, very high and very, very extraordinary. I have fortunate to have a lot of books on these, and these are huge dispensatories and pharmacopoeias. And pharmacognosy was a science that applied to herbs and plants. Pharmacognosy now, that is the recognition and the knowledge and recognition of pharmacy, of pharmaceuticals, it's gone into, diagrams and charts and medicines and, big corporations that are, it's all chemical. So what I'm saying is there's a big gap there. It's starting to come back, yes? Yes, it's starting to come back. You say yes. It's starting to come back in the naturopathic realm and the complementary medicine, where people are beginning to look at them, with some more scientific standards and studies and so forth. It's starting to come back somewhat, but in terms of it moving over into an art of pharmacy where beautiful preparations are made, I don't know, that's a long ways away.